Hey there, everybody. How are you? Welcome to this month's Peaceful Eating Weekly, not weekly, monthly, sorry. I used to do it weekly, now I do it monthly. So today I'm going to be sharing a 3-step plan to make sticking to your healthy eating goals over the holidays so much easier and just making those food choices feel so much easier. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Claire Ketchum, and I am a mom and a consistency health coach, and I am on a mission to teach health-conscious women how to actually eat well consistently so they can enjoy the journey to their feel-good weight and finally feel confident and happy in their own skin. So this live training today is part of that mission. So if you know of anybody else who is on this journey who would benefit from being a part of this community, please invite them to join us. You can just go right ahead and share the link to the group. When you invite them within the group, they don't actually ever see it. So you actually need to tell them to join. But anyway, if you know anybody who would benefit, please invite them to join us because I know that the holidays is so much trickier for people than other times of the year. So again, today I'm going to be sharing what's the official name? The 3-step plan. There we go. The 3-step plan to make the best food choices during the holidays. Okay, so why are the holidays so much harder? Well, the reason the holidays are so much harder is because we have so many more environmental triggers. So if you watch the Be Consistent Masterclass, you know there are 5 categories of stressors that throw us into the chronic stress loop, and environmental triggers is one of them. And during the holidays, we have so many more environmental triggers. Like right now, you're probably dealing with Halloween candy, right? So we just finished Halloween, and if you have kids that went trick-or-treating, then you have their candy that you can dive into. And if you gave out candy, then you might still have leftover candy in your house. And then if you work somewhere or you go anywhere, people, they don't want the candy in the house, so they bring it to work and then they give it out to, so it's just everywhere right now, right? So Halloween candy could be a big environmental trigger right now because it tends to be everywhere. And then we move right into Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving tends to not be as tricky for people because it's really only one day. We don't tend to have lots of festivities around Thanksgiving except for the actual day. And then you might have some leftovers here and then, but they don't tend to be as hard because it's just really that dealing with that one meal, unless you have somebody who makes a lot of pies and you have pies for days or whatever. But then what happens is that Thanksgiving mentality of sort of overeating and overindulging, it just sort of rolls into December. And that's where it gets tricky because once we get into the habit of overindulging, it's harder to put the brakes on, right? And then December tends to have so many environmental triggers. So for example, you might have holiday parties that you go to, and that there could be lots of temptations there that you can make some boundaries around. Then you have, for me, I was a teacher for 20 years and my husband is still a teacher and an administrator at a school. So he gets a lot of gifts and many of them are food related, which is great, but it's a lot of temptation in our house in an already tempting season. So gift is a big one for me. That might not be a struggle for you depending on what line of work you're in, or maybe your family gives food gifts. I don't really know. My family does not. My family is definitely in the don't give me food category of families in general. Okay, so then you might have the actual day of whatever holiday you celebrate, like the actual meal and the special traditions around that meal that are hard for you to avoid, and maybe you overindulge on the meal, and then you sort of have all the leftovers. And then another big one for people during this time is holiday baking, right? A lot of people like to bake over the holidays, and so they're constantly smelling the cookies, and they didn't want a cookie, but then they walk in and they smell it, and then all of a sudden they want cookies. And if you have somebody who loves to bake that you work with, then sometimes they're like, oh, I made all these things for you. Bring them in, and then again, environmental trigger. So that's sort of what we're dealing with this time of year, and that's what we're going to talk about when you have those, you didn't want it before, and then you see it, and all of a sudden you want it. That craving gets triggered because it came into your environment, right? So somebody gives you a bag of, say, peanut brittle, which I love peanut brittle, right? And it's so, I don't know why that's a holiday food, but for whatever reason, it kind of is. Um, I don't really buy peanut brittle. I don't make peanut brittle. It's not in my world, but if it becomes into my world, I definitely want it. So that those are the kind of moments we're going to be talking about. Okay, so the first step is to ask yourself this question: how am I expecting this food to make me feel? So this is a really, really great question to ask yourself because it helps you identify whether you're having a physical craving or an emotional craving. So a physical craving, your answer would be something like full or satisfied. But if you're having an emotional craving for a food, it's going to be something more like happy, included, love, joyful, something like that. So you know that the craving is coming from, the craving is helping you solve an emotional issue versus a physical issue. So that's the first piece because it makes a huge difference in how you respond, whether it's a physical craving or an emotional craving. But either way, doesn't matter which craving you have, the next step is to do the 5-5-7 breath. So this is simply to breathe in for the count of 5, hold your breath for the count of 5, and exhale very slowly for the count of 7. So it looks like this. And you want to do that 5 times. And once you do that, not 5 times, you want to do the 5-5-7 breath 3 times. And you can feel that oxygen just flooding your brain. And what this does is it sends a relaxation signal to your brain. And so that stress that craving is causing you, because that's all craving is. Craving is just a stress response. And the craving is helping you satisfy that, like to calm that stress with food, right? So when you have that stress response and you do the 5-5-7, it just calms you, right? So instead of being in your subconscious mind, you can actually access your conscious mind to make a decision. So that's it might sound really simple and like it's not important, but really it's key to get that mind in a place where it can actually make a decision. And you're not just going off of your memories and all the emotional reasons you want it. Okay, then the last step, the third step, is to ask yourself this question, which is, will eating this food actually increase or decrease my joy? Okay, so let's start with let's say you're having a physical craving for something. And maybe you want mashed potatoes with gravy, and that's what you're craving right now. But you're actually hungry for something, right? So then your question is this the best option for me? Is this going to satisfy that physical craving? Is it going to make me feel satisfied and full, or is it going to make me feel sad and upset, right? So how is it going to make me feel happy, or is it going to make me feel sad? Because even if we're solving a physical craving, if we eat something that we wish we hadn't, it's going to affect us emotionally, right? So that's sort of the difference between those two. Okay, so then let's say you're having an emotional craving, right? So if you're having an emotional craving, then you can think about this. Okay, so is eating this going to increase my joy or decrease my joy? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. It really depends on the situation. So let's say that you are at a party and there is some really delicious lava cake that you really, really wanted and you were really looking forward to, and your friend makes it every year and you were super excited to eat it, but you decided that you weren't going to eat it. And so you find yourself taking bites off of other people's plates. And so you're actually eating it, but you're not eating it in a way that's bringing you any joy, right? You're actually decreasing your joy by taking bites here and there and not really actually owning the fact that you're having a piece of cake. I used to do this all the time with cookies. When we used to have cookies at recess, and we would all like break a cookie, and then the other person would take a piece of it, and by the time we were all done, all the teachers probably eaten like 5 cookies, but none one has eaten a whole cookie, right? So that's like a really bad place to get into. So really make a decision is so, so important, because if you're going to eat it, enjoy it, because that will increase your joy. But if you just sit there and snack at it or like shovel it down in the kitchen later, that's going to decrease your joy, okay? So if you really, really want to have it, and not having it is going to make you feel sort of sad and depressed and excluded, then go ahead and enjoy it, right? Have that be something that you are going to make time for and enjoy. But if you know, like, it's good, but I don't really like it that much, I'm fine with skipping it, right? It's not really going to make me feel more included or make this night more special or make me feel like I'm missing out on something if I don't eat it. Then it's okay to skip it. And taking that moment, right? So this is not something that I'm explaining it, right? So it's taking a little bit longer, but in that moment, you want something, you make this decision, right? So is this food, like how am I expecting this food to make me feel? 1, 5, 5, 7 breath, and then ask yourself this question, right? Is it going to increase my joy or is it going to decrease my joy? And this small little pause will help you make a conscious decision about what you really, really want. And every time you do this, you're going to get better at it, right? And every time you do this, you just are going to be able to make the right decision for yourself in that moment. And sometimes it's going to be to eat it, and sometimes it's not. But what I think it really, really helps people do is I think it really helps that mindless eating, right? That like, oh, there's a gift basket and there's, cheap chocolate in it. And then all of a sudden you've eaten 5 of them and you didn't even really want it and you didn't even really enjoy it, right? That's the kind of thing that you're really trying to avoid, right? You're not trying to avoid like having your grandmother's apple pie on Thanksgiving Day, right? That you look forward to all year. She only makes it on Thanksgiving. Like, no, like that's not what you want to do, but you don't need to eat crappy chocolate, right? Like you don't need to do that. You only really want to have a situation where you're eating the things that are really going to bring you joy of the season and not make you feel deprived and sad. Okay, so that's a really, really quick thing to do when you have this environmental trigger. Now, there could be lots of other reasons why you are having cravings besides environmental triggers. So this obviously doesn't work for everything because if it's more, if it's just something else going on, then you might need a little bit more of a plan. But if you want a full comprehensive plan, I wanted to tell you that I just added my Healthy Holiday Guide to the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart. So what the Healthy Holiday Guide is I made it about 3 years ago because I was really at this point where I was, doing great, 11 months out of the year, eating awesome, eating awesome, eating awesome. And then like December would hit and I was a nightmare. I was like eating all the food. I said I wasn't going to do it. And every year I did it. And every year I ended up in January gaining weight. And it wasn't like the biggest deal in the world. I eventually lost it, but it was just annoying. I was like, why don't I understand why I can't do this? Why can't I get myself to do what I do all year in December? So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a plan because what I'm doing is I'm hoping I'm not going to do it, and hoping isn't enough. I need to actually have a plan for it to work. So what I did is I created this plan, and I ended up in January for the first time in my entire life at the same weight. So that was huge, huge, huge for me. And so what I've done is I've put this into a guide, which is very similar to the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart, but it just gives you a little bit more information about how to deal with the holiday triggers specifically. So if you've been on the fence about the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart and you're not sure whether it's a good fit for you, now is a really great time to make a 30-day commitment to stick to your plan. So the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart walks you step by step. It's about a 2-hour process. You can do it in small chunks or you can do it all at once. It's up to you, but really it's about a 2-hour commitment. It's like a mini workshop, and you work through and you create this plan. Plus you have all these mindset practices and these strategies so that once you make a plan, you actually know how to stick with it consistently, because you can make a plan and not stick with it, right? How many of us have made plans and not stuck with it? I know I did it over and over and over and over again for years. So you create the plan with the help of the Healthy Holiday Guide, which is now included in the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart. So if you feel like you could use a little bit more support, I really do encourage you to join. And then on next Monday, you can create your plan, and then next Monday you can start your commitment on the commitment thread that I post in the Stress Free Eating community every single Monday. And the Stress Free Eating community is here to help you and support you. I'm in here every day to help and support you. I know you guys can do this. So if you're looking for more support, go ahead and grab the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart. And I hope you guys have an amazing holiday season. Okay, that's it for now. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll go ahead and I'll drop the link to the Peaceful Eating Jumpstart below so you guys can go ahead and sign up and get started today. Okay, bye for now. Have an awesome day.